For over 3 decades, the ETP Group, under the leadership of founder and CEO Naresh Ahuja, has built the enterprise backbone for retail across 24 countries. Today, ETP is focused on endurance, not hype. Join us as Naresh discusses how ETP's AI-powered cloud-native platforms are eliminating market fragmentation and setting the new gold standard for the profitable future of retail.
Hello and welcome to another episode of IR Studio. Today we have with us is a technology veteran, Mr. Naresh Ahuja, who is the founder and CEO of ETP Group. Mr. Naresh, thank you so much for speaking to Indiaretailing.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you for taking the time also, out of your busy schedule. I mean, you've been in the industry for almost 36 years and ETP marks 36 years of serving the retail industry and across the domain. If we would talk about a specific technology gap, what is it that you find and how have you actually improved the same? And where do you find the challenges coming across? Because you've been in the market for the last 36 years.
Yeah, thanks. Good question actually. In India, 36 years ago or in the first decade, we saw that organized retail was just forming. Shoppers Stop, Mr. Biani's group, they were the early founders of retail. At that time, technology was not a core focus. It was seen as something necessary evil. But as things evolved, people have started to recognize that technology can be a game changer in retail. It's not just a necessary evil. Secondly, we can see the evolution of internet and availability of connectivity across India is improved so much, and it will continue to improve. As that happens, I think we will see the gap between online and offline changing. Today, offline is a separate channel, online is a separate channel. People either have a store or they have a presence online, or they have them integrated in some kind of omni-channel method. But going forward, I think the viewpoint will change towards having a unified commerce, a unified customer relationship, unified product catalogs, a unified commerce experience for customers.
So when you say the word unified commerce, I know, and we all know that products like Ordazzle or ETP Unify, and if you could just talk about some of the technological gaps. I mean, if you look at some legacy players that are already there, you are itself a legacy player. But with your solution, what is that particular thing that retailers find it more useful and they find it more convenient with the customers? They're able to communicate the way they want to associate with their product. So what is that? I mean, if I could ask you from a very layman term, what differentiates you?
Yeah. So 2 or 3 things. One is that we deliver what we commit. And that's a very important ethic that large customers and large enterprises look for. So it's not just about selling and marketing something and walking away. So that is a gap in the market. There are a lot of people who make a lot of promises in the retail tech sector, and then finally you end up with something else. So that's one thing, and that's why ETP has been able to stand strong in this market and the global market now for 36 years. The second gap is the fact that the understanding that we have to unify everything in order to serve only one person, the customer. So if you're a customer and you walk into a store or you search online for a particular brand, the experience needs to be the same.
Correct.
Which means you should see the same promotions, you should be able to see the same price points, the same catalog, and if you have loyalty points online, you should be able to use them in a store. If you have them in a store, you should be able to use them online. So that singular experience of working with a brand is what I think is a gap in the market, and I think retailers are aware of it and they're working to bridge that.
And they are actually in constant touch with you, because are they coming with you with their problems? I mean, are you finding constant homework sort of thing where you actually talk with a CIO or a CTO, okay, this is the problem that we are facing. So is that sort of a background check or a work that's happening? Because you build a service, you build a solution, it may not be a way that they must be utilizing it in the right way.
Right.
So do you have your homework or do you have your constant checking and upgradation in terms of the services that you come up with?
Yes, we do. So if you look at the market, obviously nobody had one standard ETP Unify kind of solution.
Correct. Sure.
They built it with different stacks. So they built one solution for warehousing, let's say, one solution for their POS, one solution for e-commerce, another solution for finance, and then they integrated all of them.
Correct.
very often there is a loss of information in that integration. So when we do engage with these retailers, they ask us a lot of questions about, do you have this? How does the information move from A to B? So that I think is their biggest concern, the integration of all their systems to give one cohesive report to the management and to give a great experience to customers. So as we get more and more questions, we have an R&D team, about a few hundred people in research and development based in Pune, Hyderabad and Mumbai. And we constantly keep taking those learnings and applying them to the product so we can be closer to what the market wants.
You operate, across the globe, okay? And if you just look at the Indian market, where do you see the most of the potential, and where do you see what is lacking in the Indian retail? If you look at the entire landscape that's there, because we have, if you look at retail, it is one of the biggest business in the Indian market. And an added question to that, what do you see, in terms of your revenue growth, what would be your next 3-year projection from the Indian retail industry?
I think Indian retail, organized retail, has a long way to go.
Correct.
One part of it is the unified commerce technology or the omni-channel technology or all of that. But there's also the actual physical growth of physical retail and the explosive growth of e-commerce. So I see India, the way the economy is growing, we are saying that we will be a $10 billion economy by 2032.
Correct.
Which means that everything is going to be 2.5 times bigger than what it is today.
Exactly.
In 6 or 7 years' time. So in 6 to 7 years, if I have to be 250% bigger, I will definitely have to increase number of stores. I'll have to increase my presence online. I'll have to increase my warehousing capability to be able to fulfill all of that. So that's the growth that we are looking at, I think, in India. At ETP, we have always focused on the larger customers. So, our entry barrier would be a 50-store customer would be the smallest, and then go up to 1,000 stores, 2,000, 5,000 stores. We even have customers who use 25,000 points of sale of ETP. So that segment is financially strong and growing. And as you can see from the large houses, whether it's a Reliance or a Tata's or the Birlas, they are all investing in growing retail.
Correct.
Which also means that they have a good forecast for the future. With the positive policies of the government, we are seeing the middle class growing in India. We are seeing the money is trickling down to the last person. There's so much transparency, and taxation has become easier for everyone to manage online. So we are going to see a lot more retail. And physical retail is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. During
It's
COVID,
never ending, because there was a time when, if you will also agree, at COVID, it was just a time where people would be like, no, this is done. The market is done.
It's over. Yeah, we also, for a moment, I also thought, so hey, there's no future in retail.
Correct.
But it bounced back so strongly.
It's like print only, right?
Yeah.
When you say the print media is done, it can never happen.
Yeah.
Okay, coming back to the logistical complexities that you were mentioning, these challenges are different for a 50-store people or a newbie with a 1 store or something like that. But if you just focus on Ordazzle, how is it designed? Because you also come from a tech background and you know what is the gap, how are you filling it? So if you just talk about Ordazzle, how is it designed to solve this particular unique marketplace and logistic complexities? And how are you dealing with it? How do you improve on a daily basis?
Okay, so Ordazzle is an orchestration platform. So it integrates with all the key marketplaces like Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra, all of that. It also integrates with all the logistics providers. And then it also integrates with your own websites. Let's say you have a Shopify website or your Magento website or whatever, and gives the customer one dashboard and one place through which they can process all the e-commerce orders in order to meet the SLAs. So if you told a customer I'll deliver by 4 p.m., then you must deliver by 4 p.m., right? So our focus there is SLA achievement, which means customer satisfaction. Everything we do is for the satisfaction of our customers and our customer's customer. So our thinking is not just one level, it's 2-level thinking.
Yes.
We built Ordazzle on an architecture called MAC, which is a microservices, API first, cloud native and headless architecture. This architecture we took 2 years to finalize, along with a lot of help from some of our colleagues in the US and other countries who have already experienced it. So we built it to be highly scalable. We have tested the system to be able to handle 5 million orders a day.
That's huge, actually.
Yeah, and Amazon US does 2.5 million orders a day, so we can handle double their volume. So that's how we think. We think in terms of build it right, build it for scale, build it for security, and then go to market, rather than take an approach of let me build something quickly and then let me see how the market will give feedback and then keep changing.
But talking about any tangible efficiency that if you could just cite an example, you've already mentioned about the audience, but again, if you could look at a broader picture of a tangible efficiency gain that these retailers have, so what would you, how would you comment on that?
So in e-commerce using Ordazzle, we have a statistic of a customer. I would not be able to name the customer, but they actually went from 74% SLA achievement to 99% SLA achievement within 3 months of adopting the Ordazzle platform. So that means that customers are that much happier, repeat orders, you don't pay penalties to marketplaces, and you move your inventory faster. So that is a big jump.
Naresh, if we look at the journey, a tech company surviving in India for the last, and you're touching almost 4 decades. And this is a stage when you see a lot of startups booming. We have so many people, like you are talking about unified commerce, but on the other hand, there must be some company which is being built every day.
Sure.
So, and you being a self-funded company, and there is this market of a completely VC-backed, just because earlier you have actually, and I must congratulate on you for that, because you have actually turned something from just a mere necessity to something which is really, really important. Tech was something which, because even in the Indian retail landscape, if you see to it, food sector is something which doesn't use much of the technology factors that we have. But again, you were something who actually have seen that revolution and evolution as well. So how do you compete with this? I should not use the word competition, but again, you would, being from a humble thing, you will definitely understand that. But how do you compete with all these VC backup things? And because you're being a self-startup, self-grown man. So how is that competition going on? And how do you analyze your competitors in such a way? Just being an entrepreneur, I'm asking.
That's a very deep question, actually.
You can take your time.
Yeah. So I think it's a difference in philosophy. My philosophy has been, like I said earlier, build it right, and make it scalable, make it secure, and focus it on what the customer needs. And then we can keep building more functionality later. But whatever you build, it should be built right the first time.
Correct.
Now, what that does is it takes you late in the market. What other companies do is they get a lot of funding and they build it fast, and they come in earlier in the market. So there are always people around us who are saying we have that much more functionality, or there were people who launched AI models for retail faster than us. But we focus more on the fact that it should work.
Okay.
And so when they do get in there, and if they do get into the door in our customers, we allow the customer, we don't object to anything. We say, sure, we'll even collaborate with them. And eventually the customers will learn, and they will learn the hard way that you have to build for scale.
Correct.
So
that should be the inner thought.
And the second thing is, I believe that we charge more. We are not the cheapest player in the market by any standard, but we give more.
Correct.
So the philosophy is charge more and give more, not charge less and give less.
Which is ideal, that you're giving for value for money.
Value for money. And so we have been running a profitable business for the last, 25, 30 years. So, and then we fund our R&D through our own profits.
Correct.
So the focus has been take care of your customer, number one. Number two, take care of your employees. Last but not the least, take care of your
customers.
P&L, yeah.
So, and just an added question to this. So where do you find, if you look at the new age startups that are building, because you must be sure that people are coming with the solutions that replicate your offerings.
Yeah.
But again, if I ask you from a legacy standpoint of view, where do you see what is lacking in them? Because they must be, of course, they must be doing some good work, and they must be, because being a veteran, you must have seen the, the pitfalls and all. So what is that kind of a thing? How can they improve? If I would just ask you from a business point of perspective, on how do you advise them?
I think the first thing is to try and look at endurance, because it's not difficult to get funded today. There are so many VCs and there's so much liquidity in the market. So it's quite easy to come up with an idea and say, I'll do A, B, C, D, go get some funding. But the thing is that it's like going to the gym, right? You need to not just build power, you need to build endurance as well.
Correct.
Because that's what pays off in day-to-day life. So I'd say focus on doing something even if it is small, but built for endurance, built for the fact that this is something that you will still be doing 10 years from now. Don't build for exit. There's a big difference in building for exit and building for endurance. If you get an exit and you want to take it, great, no issues. But if you build for the long term with customers, customers will reward you.
I guess that's what you have said, like don't build for exit, build for endurance. That is actually a mindset that you also feel that maybe new age startup people and all these incubation center founders, they should actually have in mind, right?
Yeah, they do. They should have, but not everyone does.
Correct,
Some of them do for sure. And we've seen, like, look at Perplexity. I mean, he's built a brilliant business in such a short time. I mean, kudos to him. So there are good startups and there are good, and we welcome them into the market, and we are happy to even learn from them and collaborate with them.
When we talk about this word unified commerce, what is the hardest technological hindrance that you face in it? Because brand can have an in-house technology as well. Brand can come to a service provider for all these things. But what is this completely, is this unified commerce word? I mean, what is it? What does it mean for different retailers? What does it mean for different domains in the retail industry? And how do you offer, you all already mentioned about the factor of endurance. So how do you offer all in one bucket?
Okay, so to start with the basics, unified commerce basically means that on one platform and one single database, without any integrations, you have all customer data from all customer channels. So you have only one source of truth about your customer. The person buys online or they come to your store, it's one customer ID, one loyalty points, one address, one phone number, one everything, right? So I identify you and I recognize you and reward you, whichever channel you come from. 1. 2, I have one source of truth about inventory. You must have gone online at some point and said, okay, I want to buy this, it says 3 items left. By the time you place the order, it says cancellation, sorry, sold, right? That can happen in omni-channel, that you have some inventory in the store which you have then committed to sell online, but then the person in the store sold it, not knowing that an online order is being placed at the same time, and that dissatisfaction comes. So you have one source of truth for customers, one source of truth for inventory, and you have one source of truth for all your product information. What does the image look like? What is the size of the product? What's the dimension? What's the prices? You have one source of truth for your promotions, your discounts, and all the the good offerings that you're giving to customers. That is unified commerce. Now, the benefits of this, which customers see sometime, but some we are still communicating, is that today your company is built like this in silos. There's always a separate e-commerce department called digital. You'll have a head of digital, then you have the retail as a different manager, and they don't even talk to each other. But you also then have separate merchandising teams for both of them. Then you have separate marketing teams for both of them. Then you have separate teams who are doing product information management and building. So your product is the same product, but 2 people are working on it. So if you have unified commerce, you will save a huge amount of costs and give higher customer satisfaction. So that is what we are pitching to the market. People get it.
Yes.
But they are already so deeply embedded with so many different systems that to move to one new platform takes some thinking and some internal restructuring that they will have to do in their business. They know the benefit also, but it's just that change management is something that
you've clearly touched upon a point that there is a point of, a collision is there, and there is change of opinions as well. Because a retailer that we have actually recently talked with, there was a point that he mentioned that once we approve a emerging technology, there has to be some sort of permission, some sort of all these management thing is there. You have to get approvals from your CFO.
Yes.
So, and again, as you have already mentioned, there is a legacy player. There are legacy retailers in the market who are actually deep down, stuck in their old ways of doing it. So when you approach those kind of retailers, because I believe approaching a new age player must be easy. I don't
Very
know.
easy, very.
You have to
They
tell
get
me
it
on
right away. Yeah.
So, but how do you approach these old players? Because you have to convince them. Because if it's a tech person you're directly dealing with, you can easily convince him.
Yeah.
But again, that tech person to convince to the other board members or the management, that becomes a really hard task, and thereby affecting your communication, your marketing, and entire relationship that you're going to build. So how is that happening? I mean, if you could just give me simple ways, how do you deal with legacy players in the market, and how do you break that sort of a myth that okay, yeah, we need this particular thing for the future? So how do you change that stuck behavior with them?
Yeah, that's actually one of the things we agonized over a lot. Then what's happening today is, if you go around to all the companies, you'll see that in India, a lot of young people like you are getting a lot of responsibility, and boards recognize that. Senior management recognizes that. They are actually inviting younger people to take more ownership and to take more responsibility. And the reason is that they understand the audience, because who's the one who's going to go and spend money in the stores?
Correct.
The biggest spender will be that 25 to 40 range person who is now earning well in India, who wants to be well dressed, who wants to buy stuff, right? So those two engage much better than like this. So when you drive these kind of projects for this kind of change with new technology, Mac architecture, beautiful user interfaces, and that kind of mobile apps and all that, it's better to go in through this generation, and they will sell it internally within the organization. They will drive the change. It took us a year or two to get that, but when we got it, we started to do.
Do you face the challenge very often? I mean, is that challenge?
It's there for sure. Nobody likes change. Everybody objects to change, but normally nobody reaches a board level without understanding that change is a constant. It's necessary.
And when they do it, when they actually come and have a relationship with you, and they must see tangible benefits to them. And how do they come back to you, and how do they revert to you? Okay, yeah, we were wrong. Is there a sort of a repentance on that? Do they agree to it?
No, I don't think there's any need for repentance or anything, but there is definitely a few rounds of discussion.
There's of course an understanding, because ye chahiye tha.
So you have the first pitch, nobody's going to say, yeah, sure. It's going to take second pitch, third pitch, fourth pitch, and then a lot of discussion, and then they will invite a lot of other companies, and then they will evaluate, and then finally sit down on a table and finalize.
Okay. Now coming to this PIM solution, if I would ask in very simple terms, how would it help a D2C brand? I mean, you've already mentioned that we actually deal with more bigger players, minimum 50 stores. But again, if I were to ask you, how does it help? Because a D2C brand can be constructed or can be into the picture by tomorrow.
Sure.
And it can have a store also, because in this heavily VC funded era, it can have a store also very easily. But how do you see, how does a PIM solution ensure a complete source of consistency, and in the way that they also can reach to their customers with a very a legit behavior and legit customer experience? So how does PIM solution ensure that?
Yeah, so the PIM, like the Product Information Management System, we have designed it so that it's so easy to use. I promise I can train you and take you live in 3 hours. It's just so intuitive and so easy to use. And once a company, let's say you said a new D2C brand who wants to go live really fast, they can go live in half a day. They can upload all their product information, what they have legacy information. Then they can, curate the images. We even do image resizing for them. We take care of the videos for them. And they can then publish this information on anywhere, on Amazon, on Flipkart, on Myntra, Jio, wherever they want, Tata Click, etc. And then they can also, make brochures using that information. It becomes one source of truth for the whole organization, which helps them to scale their business. It helps them to know that whatever information is going out is factual and accurate.
How do you ensure that the investment is protected? It's safe, it's not going anywhere. We have that long-term association. And how do you, because everything is cloud now, and you must also be dealing with such a way that you're actually, because with the emergence of AI, different levels of AI, generative AI, agentic AI, you must be dealing with a lot of new technological innovations as well. So how do you ensure that sort of a consistency with brands, and how do you see that, okay, yeah, your investments are protected and they're not going anywhere? Because there has to be something where you also offer some things, yeah, I mean something new every year, or something new once a year, or twice a year. So how do you ensure all those things, that your relationship with the brand is secured?
Long term and
Yes,
secured.
it's secured.
So there are two things, two angles to this. That's a very relevant question. One is that we have constantly investing in R&D. From our majority, a large portion of our profits go back into research and development. So we actually update our system every week. It's not like once a year, or every week we have some new features, some new functions, some enhancement, some performance optimization, etc. We publish this to customers. In fact, when they log into our system, the first thing you see on the page is what's new. And every week there's something new, some new feature, function that they can use to help their business. So that is a constant commitment. They are always having a fresh application. We keep improving the UI, the APIs, all of that. So that keeps them excited, keeps them happy, and they keep seeing new things. They don't have to use all the new features. They can choose what to use and not to use. The second is that we're constantly working on cloud security, because like you said correctly, everything is in the cloud. So I must make sure my customers are secure. As you can see, we are certified for 27K, ISO 27K. We are SOC 1 certified, we are SOC 2 certified. But all these certifications and all the measures you take are not a guarantee that everything will be secure, because like you said, with AI, it's not, earlier we used to say, how can you keep ahead of the curve? With AI, you can't even see where the curve is going. Especially with quantum, AI on quantum computing, that combination is deadly, because they say that you can actually break passwords and codes in minutes and seconds. So I think it's just a constant effort of doing R&D and constantly morning to night working on security and scalability.
If we were to look at the physical store setup there, because you've already mentioned about the post, pre, and the commerce journey.
Yeah.
But when we look at the physical store, because there are a lot of in-store technologies, maybe something which is visible and something which is not visible, of course, but that generally deals with the customer experience. So how are you helping in that way? And looking 5 years ahead from now onwards, what particular trend that you must be already, as you have already mentioned about the R&D part, but what is that particular trend or shift in consumer behavior or pattern that you are working on in terms of the offline journey for a retailer?
Yes, we've been doing a lot of research and doing a lot of work there. So as you can see, earlier you just had a point of sale system in a store, right? You went, you browsed the store, you picked up whatever you want, then you went to the counter, paid for it and left. Today, from the time that you walk in, depending on privacy laws, stores can recognize you just from your phone, right? Or you can scan a QR code and log into your loyalty system and they recognize you. When you meet an associate and you say, hey, I like this jacket, I want to get one more, but what colors do you have? Normally they should have an iPad or something with them, a tablet or their phone, and they should be able to check what other colors are available in the type of jacket you're wearing. And if it's not available in this store, is it available at the warehouse? Is it available at another store? And then they should be able to order it for you and get it delivered home. So they should have a product catalog, they should have an ordering system, and they should know who you are. Once they know who you are, they should also know your buying history.
Correct.
Once they know what you buy, then they should also be able to suggest other things that you could buy. So that's where AI comes in, where AI can make recommendations for you. So this should be there on a phone or a tablet with all the store assistants and associates. Plus, it could be on the dual screen of a POS. You must have seen nowadays, many POS have the second screen. So when you're, let's say, going to purchase, you can log in your mobile number there. That gives you registration for your loyalty points. It also tells you how many loyalty points you have. It recommends other products to you. It asks you if you'd like a home delivery. It maybe gives you a reward or some sort of a voucher. So these are the kind of technologies that we have already built for the store. And we are now building, we are building what is called narrow AI.
Okay.
So our application, we keep building use cases of AI. So product recommendation is one use case. Clienteling is another use case. That means you're a customer and how do I best service you? So it will keep making recommendations to me. As I log in your name on the iPad, it'll keep telling me things about you that I should know, like conversation starters.
Correct.
You know, your preferences, you may have said, like, let's say golf is a preference. So say, have you played a game lately? So it will suggest, can you talk to them about golf? Because otherwise it's impossible to know how many consumers walk into the store, walk out. Poor associates, they can't remember everybody, right?
So the entire personalization aspect is
Yeah.
being taken care of.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. We've talked about commerce and the post-commerce part. Now let's jump a bit on the pre-commerce part. I mean, how are you helping in the marketing and the promotional aspect to a retailer? Because a person comes to a store, buys a product. One thing is, of course, the acquisition and the retention factors that we generally deal with. But again, when you talk about the marketing and the promotional aspects that you deal with, and how does unified commerce play a part in that? Can you just brief on that?
Okay. So unified commerce, as we discussed earlier, it means that I have data about customers, holistic data about customers, unified data about your online buying, your offline buying. I also have information about when you went to my website, what you browsed, what you put in the cart, when you cancel the cart, so abandoned cart as well as your browsing on my site. All that is captured through various cookies and other tools. So I have more knowledge now about you as a customer. Now, when we do customer segmentation, then you can choose to direct your marketing messages to an audience who has certain preferences.
Okay.
And you can choose to tailor your promotions for that customer segment as well. So if I know that this is a family with young children, and when children are young, parents don't think about how much they're spending; they just spend, right? So I will target more and more children products to this family, and I know it's a family because my AI recognized it as a family, and I have unified data about your address, which your wife shops online, and you go to the store, but still it comes together, right? So this is how you can use that information, that knowledge, because AI basically needs data. The more data you give it, a bit of training, and it will give you fantastic promotions and fantastic targeted marketing.
To touch upon that training part, so how do you train your LLM models? How is it? Because R&D is, of course, it's the backbone of any tech company that is functioning. But again, how do you train these LLM models? Because my idea is to understand that the data that you get, I mean, how secure is it? Because that is also some sort of a guarantee that you give to your customers and customers to their customers, as you've already mentioned. So how do you, ensure of course, cyber security, how do you ensure, and how do you ensure that everything is encrypted?
Yeah, so we have 256 encryption in our database. We have encryption not just at the database level, but also in transit.
Okay.
So that means if it is going out of the system or coming in through APIs or through the UI, we have encryption, the data is all encrypted. We do our best to make sure our system is secure, but like I said, there's no 100%. Because you don't know who's sitting where in the world and coming up with some Machiavellian plan to hack your system. There's no idea. So we do our best, as hard as we can. We work towards it, and we encrypt the data. And that's about all you can do.
And thereby, how do you ensure data consistency? And what do you do for resilience? Because there is a lot of transaction that's happening right now. And fintech is also booming in India as well. So how do you ensure that sort of a consistency and resilience to the brands?
Yeah. So consistency, I think, is not a challenge because we test our system for data consistency well before any release is out there. It's tested, and we're using AI for testing. We have AI tools that actually automated the entire testing process, and they learn from our new developments. In terms of backup and resilience, we always do multi-zone backup. So for example, my India customers, their data is here, but we have a backup instance in Singapore which can be spun up the minute if anything goes wrong here. Similarly, Singapore customers or Indonesia customers or Malaysia, those customers, we would back up their data in another zone in Australia or in India or in the US. So we never keep we keep the backup also in a completely different country, different region. And we do this keeping in mind seismic zones. That is,
Yes, correct.
that is earthquake zones, and then different other natural disasters, etc. And we make sure that the cross zone data is maintained.
Naresh, you entered the market when the entire industry was sort of fragmented.
Yeah.
I don't mean to say you're old, but again, looking at that particular time and today, is your job getting easier or is it getting tougher?
I think the job of developing software is definitely easier. The job of coming up with content is a lot easier. Marketing is easier because there are more tools now which can help you, like HubSpot and stuff like that. The job of implementing software and doing change management has become more difficult. The reason for this is that the attention span of people has reduced, I think, with mobile phones and internet. So if you're doing meetings and you're doing remote meetings, I'm sure not even 50% of the people are listening, right? They're all on their phones, or they've minimized your window and they're doing some other work or answering emails. So, and because of COVID and this remote working situation, more and more things are happening remotely. And when they happen remotely, you don't have the audience's focus, then what happens is change management becomes very difficult.
Okay.
Because for change, people really need to say, okay, I will not do it this way, I will do it that way from tomorrow. But if I'm not paying attention, I'm not going to change.
Correct. And as we always know that, the problems within the industry, any industry, but now we're talking about retail, that can be global,
Yeah.
but the solution has to be local. That's what your motto has always been.
Yeah.
So how do you ensure that? And because there is of course a factor of price, there's of course a factor of affordability also.
Yeah.
But how do you ensure and how do you balance this seesaw of solution getting local and also price points? So how are all these things interlinked?
Yeah, very good question. So we have the base solution which we have built, which is standard functions for all retail and e-commerce companies. Above that, we have industry layers.
Correct.
So you have something for grocery, you have something for supermarket, convenience store, fashion retail, sports retail, etc., jewelry retail, etc. So then you have the vertical layer of software on top of that. On top of that, we have what's called a country localization. So we have GST management in India, we have BIR in the Philippines, we have something else in Singapore. And then, so each one of them is then maintained and updated on a regular basis, because all governments keep coming out with various changes in policy, and we have to incorporate that change. A lot of governments now insist that you integrate the data straight with them. So it's not like you're doing a return. It's every time making an invoice, pung, it goes into the government server also. It goes straight away. So we keep maintaining that for about 17 countries at this point of time where we are present. And then after that, we have the one more layer of the customer specific modifications or customization that is required. So we have 6 layers in our software.
When you see your journey, almost 4 decades, what would be a single piece? This would be my final concluding question. What would be a single piece of advice that you would give to a young D2C founder or maybe the existing retail brands? The answer can be one based on the physical store formats that they are trying to enter in, and one of course can be on the post, pre, and the entire unified commerce landscape. Because you have analyzed, you have seen the market evolve, grow, you have seen the market in its bad, in its good, everything. So what is that one piece, or maybe you can have multiple also, that sort of an advice that you can give to a founder who's trying to, or who's already existing in the market, who is flourishing or maybe flourish also? So what would be that sort of an advice, considering a tech aspect or an aspect of a tech veteran leading to a company that would also deal in a very efficient technological way? So what would be that?
Yeah. A younger generation now, after they've seen COVID and all, become very digital, right? Everything is digital. It's on your mobile phone, it's email, it's online. But the consumer, if they're a retail consumer, they're physical, they're not digital. Because they're human beings, and human beings are not yet digital. So I would say first go and meet consumers. So even if you are setting up your first store, set up a small store, think of the demographic area that you are doing, be willing to take a small lease of 6 months and write off the store after that. But sit in that store, meet consumers, see how they interact with your product, how they interact with your team, how they interact with your brand, and then tweak the brand and tweak the experience. So write off that first year. Say whatever money I spend is going to be a waste. But what I'll get away from it is learning of the actual human being I'm dealing with.
So, Naresh, thank you so much for speaking to India Retailing. I guess the last 20 to 30 minutes we have seen how a company has flourished, how a company has grown, how a company has been one of the biggest leaders in the market across the globe, and how it's still helping the Indian retail mindset as well as the players existing in the market. So thank you so much for speaking to India Retailing. I wish you all the best in your future.
Pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on this show.
Thank you.